Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is an action comedy from Mexico, Spanish language, released in the year 2004, directed by Alejandro Lozano, and this movie is called Matando Cabos. So Matando Cabos is about this boss. He's a businessman. His name is Oscar Cabos. Oscar is very aggressive in what he does. His employees really don't like him, and now Oscar doesn't realise he's going to be a target of a kidnapping plan. So basically, Oscar catches one of his employees sleeping with his daughter, so he beats the employee quite badly. And then the next day, the employee has to go to his office, and Oscar hasn't actually finished with him yet. So he goes to attack him again, but slips over a golf ball and knocks himself out. So the employee gets one of his friends, and they decide to take the unconscious body, put him into the trunk of the car, and take off, and they're going to basically use him as a ransom. But what they didn't know is that two criminals also wanted to have Oscar Cabos as a kidnapping victim, and they're actually waiting for him outside the office. So a guy that resembles Oscar Cabos, but is not actually him, walks out, they knock him out, they put him into their trunk and they take off, and this ultimately is where a comedy of errors starts, where there's a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of new characters introduced into the film, which ultimately puts a lot of people's lives at risk. So what happens at that point on, and what's in store for each character, that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Matando Cabos. This was definitely a film I had nothing about. Now I know I review a lot of films that no one ever talks about, but this movie I didn't even know it existed until I actually saw it on the shelf here in La Plata. So I knew it was a Mexican film. I thought the trailer looked very promising, so I had a lot of expectations for it, and I was really hoping that this movie would impress me. And after watching the film, I can say that it did impress me. This is definitely a case of not knowing, the great unknown. Is this going to be good or is this going to be really bad? But I can thankfully say that it was really good. It's not a perfect film, there are problems, but it's a very fun film. It's a film that's very light-hearted, but at the same time it's taking very dark materials, so it's a very good black humour. If you haven't got a good sense of humour, or you haven't got a sick sense of humour, you're not really going to like Matando Cabos. But if you like the works of Quentin Tarantino, chances are you're going to really like this. I actually thought this was very reminiscent of Quentin Tarantino's work. Without ripping him off, it actually feels like it's inspired by him. So if you like that kind of stuff, you are going to get something out of Matando Cabos. I thought this is a very short film, but it utilises its short running time absolutely perfectly. It doesn't waste any time with unnecessary sort of plot developments. It is a movie that does snowball into something bigger, bigger and bigger, and then right at the end it caps it off with a very memorable conclusion. So the movie, something really bad happens, and then it's just a comedy of errors, and this is what keeps the interest in the viewer, is that when one bad thing happens, the plot thickens, and then all of a sudden another bad thing happens and the plot thickens. So there's always that changing sort of frequency in the film, and there's a changing of tides, and this character is in trouble with this character. Now this character has made amends with that character, now he's in trouble with this character. So it just snowballs into something really big, and it's at a very fast pace. So when you see at the end of the film, it doesn't actually feel like you've watched a movie that goes for about 80 minutes. You actually see a film that you actually enjoyed without caring about how long it went for. So that was what I appreciated about Matando Cabos the most, is that it knew exactly what it wanted to be. It was a very self-aware film, and therefore a lot of people will come away from this movie really enjoying it. I thought the characters were great. There was larger-than-life characters, caricature sort of atmosphere, so it feels like it's not really taking place in a realistic world. The reactions of each character was absolutely hilarious. Each character has characteristics of their own, so they separate themselves from each other, and it doesn't actually feel like one particular character is demanding all the attention. So a lot of movies, the main characters are the one that you have the sole focus on, but in this movie they all share the focus, and so it actually feels like just a well-rounded out film, and where you're actually enjoying the situation of these characters as opposed to actually enjoying the characters themselves. So you've got two main characters who are definitely the Deadwood, they're the serious ones, but their interactions with these psychotic characters was just funny. You've got a retired Mexican wrestler, you've got a budgie, or a parrot that just won't shut up. You've got the Mexican wrestler's best friend, who is known as the Cannibal Midget. You've got psychotic neighbours, you've got psychotic criminals, and you've just got a whole range of these people coming in to make just a very caricature world, that it's a world that you want to be part of. So I really like that. There's some very stylish and shocking violence that is thrown in there. There are some stylish car chases that I really appreciated. So it is definitely an action/comedy, and they really nail both those elements. I thought the comedy, it was just really, really well written. So if you like good scripts, then chances are you're going to get something out of Matando Cabos. So the only problem I had with this film was the fact that some of the transition from scene to scene was a little bit off. Now this is a lower budget film, but a lot of the movie actually looked very good. But there were certain moments when it went from scene to scene where it felt disjointed. Actually, you could actually tell that it was a lower budget, and that is not a big problem because the movie is so so light-hearted that you won't really notice it. But I just noticed that there were some areas in the film where it didn't feel as polished as other areas, so it did feel a little bit inconsistent as far as the technique was concerned. But the majority of the film is very well done, so you're not really going to notice that problem. But if I am nitpicking, that sort of transition from scene to scene sometimes could have been just a little bit better. But having said that, it is a very entertaining film. It is reminiscent of the works of Quentin Tarantino, so if you are a fan of that sort of stuff, Matando Cabos is one that I would recommend, and as a result of that, I'm going to give this film 3.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.